Laura Ingalls in Little House on the Prairie. It was always, or I wanted to be a princess. I don't think it was really until I finished my literature degree and I'd done some, anthropology courses and really started thinking about people and psychology and society that I started thinking of fashion in terms of its dailiness and the stories that attach to it.
Well, that is interesting because I know you do have your bachelor's degree in English, and you have done some work in anthropology, and you did costume design. I know you worked at the Wilma for a while. So that's really a very eclectic mix to lead you to fashion. Does that put you, do you think you're different from most designers in that way? I take it you've mixed with a lot of them at this point.
Yeah, I've met a lot of them. A lot of them I meet are so much younger than, well, not so much younger than me, but they'll be in their early 20s, and that's already different because they're already going straight.
You're not in your early 20s?
Oh, I'm 27.
Oh, okay.
I'm 27, so I've sort of had that incarnation that the undergrads are having now, and who knows if they'll end up like me, totally switching careers by the time, they're in their late 20s. It's hard to say, but I definitely appreciate the eclectic point of view. I mean, I've had more books, I've stuffed more books in my head than I can remember, and I think it just provides this tremendous library of thought and of reference. It makes you a little more dimensional. And I see that with a lot of the grad students because they all come from different backgrounds. They come from art history, they come from law, they come from marketing and graphic design. And I think that's what really ends up lending a richness to the graduate students' work.
Okay, so it inspires the style and the aesthetic that you have.
Yeah, they've already thought a little bit about what their world looks like in their head.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your prize. I found it very amusing because it's kind of an interesting mix of things. As part of your prize for this Concours des Jeunes Créateurs de Mode, which I guess translates as a competition for young creators of style or fashion, you received 3,000 euros, which translates into dollar-wise?
3,600.
Okay, so not
on
huge.
A good week it could have been more, but they transferred it that week, so that's how much it was.
Oh well, but it's still a nice amount.
Yeah, it's great.
Then this struck me: a state-of-the-art faff embroidery.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's this. I haven't even opened it yet. I won actually in San Francisco. Myself and two other Drexel students won the top prizes there. So we won faff sewing machines there, which were amazing, computerized, touch screen, brilliant. I did my whole collection on it. It's a wonderful machine. So I won another one in Paris.
The same machine then?
A different model.
Okay.
A different model. It's like the total, it costs more than any car I've ever owned, the sewing machine. Yeah. And it's an embroidery and sewing machine. So you could sort of punch in a few things to this machine, walk away, have your lunch, come back, and have some sort of amazing embroidered design. It came in 2 boxes. I think one of them is the hard drive. I haven't opened it yet. I don't know how to use it. It comes with an instruction manual like this. It's amazing.
Is it in French, by the way?
No, it's like 4 languages. Yeah.
And then you have a round-trip plane ticket on Air France, which you need because you have a scholarship at the École de la Chambre Syndicale de la Couture, which is the it's interesting, it has this word syndical, which means it's sort of like a syndicate or the union of couture, the couture union. And is that the highest level school for couture in the world?
Well, it's the School of the Couture Syndicate, which was founded by Charles Worth, I think in 1857. So this is
Charles Worth was
Charles Frederick Worth, the couturier.
Was he French?
He was American,
I
right?
thought so too.
Yeah, well, he must have gone over there and found it, because that's what it says on the website.
Yeah, because I've seen those Worth gowns in the in the old books. And
we have some in the costume collection too at Drexel. Well, he founded the Couture Syndicate in Paris, so this is the school of the Couture Syndicate. There isn't an older school. There are other schools, but none that are couture schools specifically.
Okay, and so you will be spending a year studying, I guess, at the highest level. Do you know who you'll be studying with in terms of your teachers?
No, I'm still back and forthing with them, and
Do you choose? Do you get to choose?
There's a couple courses of study. I'm leaning towards just taking the final year of courses with the other students and doing with that what I may, kind of almost like repeating my senior year at Drexel, because you do it again, there's so many more things you could do, especially with other instructors and other environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds so exciting. Now tell me, will it be in French?
Yes.
And how was your French?
It's decent.
And how did you learn it? Was that part of
middle school and high school.
Okay.
Yeah, and I never thought I'd need it. And I had this French teacher who was so strict.
Yeah.
And she was so serious about teaching us French. And we all were just like, oh, no, we can't be bothered. And now I'm looking back going, thank you, Madame Nelson. Thank you for caring more about French than I did. Because a lot of it stuck.
How
So,
wonderful.
It's good.
And
It's
of
really good.
course, there probably are these little technical terms that you're
They
going to
don't
have to
know,
bone up on,
no.
but knowing the general gist of it is
Yeah.
going to make a difference.
I had my resume translated. I did a version and I sent it to a French woman who translated, idiomatically into French. By the time she sent it back to me, I didn't really know what it said, even though it was my resume and it was the things I did. I was like, oh, I have a lot to learn, but I'll learn it.
So what's your plan? What, after this year is over, this next year, what do you think you would like to do with your life? How do you see it unfolding?
Well, I get asked that a lot, especially lately. And the truth of the matter is I'm not a huge planner. I'm more of, I like to go on my intuition. So that's how I've gotten as far as I've gotten right now. I imagine that I would like to look for work in Paris. After I'm finished there, I think I'll meet people who can help me do that, possibly, and it's too much of an amazing opportunity to pass up trying to do that. I've always wanted to live and work in Europe, and that's what I was attempting to do when I was in London, but it ended up being Paris, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Do you think that Paris still is the center of fashion?
I don't think that fashion is centralized the same way anymore. I think every major city has its own thing that people go to. Milan everyone goes to. Italian fashion is like, they've got something for everyone. But, Paris has this sort of fantastical element that people go to. New York has this super polished, chic element that people go to. London's where all the crazies are, and then Belgium and the Netherlands have these fantastic, much more intellectual designers. So I think it's a global economy, like nothing really exists in just one place anymore.
And of all these, you did a wonderful job just sketching each one. Do you feel that your affinity is more with the French aesthetic, conception, or whatever?
I wouldn't have said so 6 months ago, but ever since the competition and feeling as I did, I just felt really comfortable there. And I look at the collection that I made for my graduate collection, and I think, well, that kind of actually looks kind of French. It definitely doesn't look New York. It's not. We're
going to flash a few pictures from that collection up at this point, so people will get a sense of that collection.
Yeah, I mean, I would have said last year, oh, I'm meant for Antwerp. I went to Amsterdam last year for the first time, and the design sense there is just fantastic. I loved it. I love the city. It's so sort of austere and dreamy and bizarre at the same time.
And that's the more intellectual.
That I love, and that appeals to my intellectual side. But I think what comes out of me, which you don't really control how you design, that's just who you are, what comes out of me is much more feminine, and it's probably more French.
Okay, yeah, the French, I guess, are very feminine.
Yeah.
Pierre Cardin was the main judge of this competition.
He was the head of the jury.
And he is, how old is he now? He must be, he's a
80-something.
He's quite a great eminence now in the design world.
Yeah.
Well, did you speak to him? Did you get to know him? I know there's a picture of you with him and somebody from Air France and your design.
Yeah.
What was he like?
He was just sort of he was pretty taciturn. He was up there, congratulations, sort of handshake. Everything was in French. He asked me, he pointed to the jacket and he goes, oh, c'est un ceinture? And I was like, oh, oui, c'est un ceinture.
He expected you, of course, to speak French, as the French generally do.
Everybody does, yeah. And which, fortunately, I had, actually.
Maybe that's why you won, is that?
Possibly
I don't mean to say that, but I bet they were so, pleased that you spoke French.
A little bit. Well, I was arguing with the judges in French the day before. They were trying to give me a model who was too short and too small for my outfit. So I somehow doubt that ingratiated them to me.
But then you did prove to them that you spoke French.
A little bit.
So you did help choose your model.
We had biddings all day. It was the most extraordinary experience. We flew overnight to Paris. We got off the plane, got on a bus, went to the Louvre, and sat there for about 10 hours in a room where everyone was yelling in French. And I can understand some, but when they start going and yelling, forget it. No one can understand anything. So we were waiting for models. Models were coming. They were sending them to other people, not to us. And we were beginning to feel like, okay, they're not going to give the Americans any models, are they? It's just going to be like we're going to walk our stuff down the runway. eventually they did send this one girl around, and she was just, I mean, she was tiny. So I went up and they go, oh, ça va, and I was like, oh no, ça ne va pas, no, like this is not happening.
And that might have made the difference, right?
Yeah, because the girl they sent me in the end was about 6 foot tall, Amazon blonde, and she was fantastic. She was, it's all in the presentation.
And she looked like the paratrooper you wanted.
There was so many little things that went into it being just right. Yeah.
Oh, that is so wonderful.
Wild.
So what does your family think? You grew up in Ballackinwood, so you're a local girl.
Yeah.
Have you gone back to your school, and have you been feted by your teachers and your colleagues and all?
I emailed my art teachers from LM because I'm still in touch with them, and they were such a huge, awesome influence on me back then. It was like my little happy place was in the art room, and they were so thrilled. And I went back to Marion Elementary today and talked to some 5th graders who are aspiring artists and designers, and maybe they don't know, but it was really cool. I talked to them, and you know, the mainline and the mainline life did articles. So
it's
yeah,
nice.
and my grandmother's pretty much started a newsletter on me, which she circulates to all her
it's
friends. She's in Wynwood.
Grandmothers are supposed to do that. I just want to end by saying that your outfit is yours.
Yes,
and
my collection.
The sweater and the shirt, and also the necklace, which I think is just charming.
Thank you.
And I really think you're terrific. I was at the fashion show, and I have to say that you blew me away, that design, and everybody's designs were wonderful, but I could see why you won.
Thank you.
So thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for the Drexel interview.